Hi everyone, this is Gray, QTalk Live, day number 2 from Command Central, Cloudy, Ohio, theurbanbeater.com. Today's project, we're going to do the Crescendo Bracelet, and so hoping you guys are doing well out there. Ohio is officially on lockdown, and I know several of you guys are doing that too. So, anyway, hi to everybody who's watching, and let's get started on this video here. So, first of all, since this is an opportunity to reach a lot of people in a very short amount of time, one of our viewers asked me to do a quick PSA on things that you can do right now to help the cause. So apparently hospitals and the like are short of masks and are asking us crafters who actually do textile to please help contribute by making masks and donating them. And we believe that Joanne Fabrics is taking some of the donations too. So if you would consider taking a little time and some of your scrap cotton material to make masks for them, that would be greatly appreciated. If you don't have a pattern, I am posting it here on this page, and there's a link that I posted there for you, so that would be helpful. All right, so on to more interesting things. So we're making the Crescendo bracelet, which is this here, and earrings. Let's see, and I'll do another shot of it here in a second. I don't know if you can see that. I know focusing is a deal here. And so what are you going to need today? You will need some 18 gauge wire, 5mm 19 gauge jump rings. 18 gauge jump rings will work also for this one. 6mm jump rings will be work also too. If you're making the earrings, obviously you need earring wires, and then for the clasp you'll need about a 2-inch section of 16 gauge wire. So all the projects this week is based on my book, Minimal Metal Jewelry. And the premise of the book, if you haven't looked at it yet or are thinking about it, the premise of the book is to get people started with just really basic materials that we can make a lot of different projects with just these few materials. And the projects this week is to go ahead and be an extension of all of those projects. Now, none of the projects I'm doing here will be in the book. Again, it is to complement the book, okay? That said, if you haven't purchased the book, it's on our website. I put a link here, and if you're looking for written instructions, then it is. I also posted a link here for the projects that we're doing this week. As of today, I posted a group, what am I thinking, a combo post of all the instructions for the entire week. The thing is, I wanted to sort of share with you guys, for most of us who do what I do, we're dependent on shows and going out and teaching, and this is how we make our salary. And that obviously has been cut off. And our goal here, or my goal here, is to make use of my time. This was totally done on the fly. I talked about it a little bit yesterday. I have always wanted to do this, and why not take advantage of the time that I'm actually home and I'm not traveling to all the ends of this country to do this. So anyway, so that's part of the reason why I started doing that. And then also, maybe hopefully generate a little revenue and bring some attention not only to the urbanbeater.com but to myself at qfomgray.com. If you're looking for events, everything is being updated as we hear from the events there. But anyway, so I see so many of you guys are joining in. Most of you guys, I feel like, have been in a class at some point. And really, before actually we start, I wanted to share a really quick story about what's going on here, and how this is all coming together because I just love this story. Anyway, so last week, out of last minute, like I said, I decided we were going to do this without much thought. Didn't even have projects in my head, except maybe it would be an extension of the book, right? Right. Okay. So then I decided, or so then, you had to start figuring all this out. We need a webcam. We need to make sure that I have a monitor, the materials and everything else. oh, this should be easy. I'm technically inclined. I have all the equipment, so let's just do it. But then I decided, okay, you know what? It would be a smart thing to test this on Friday and see how it goes, or Thursday, and see how the webcam works. Sure enough, the webcam failed. I know, just my luck, right? Typical. So, okay, webcam didn't work. Fine. You know what? I'm just going to go out to Office Max and go ahead and get another webcam. This was what? Friday? Thursday, maybe? Sold out. Why? Why are we all sold out of webcams? Wait a second. Oh, God, I didn't think about it. Everybody else is doing the same thing. Okay, Best Buy closed. Let's go over to Walmart. Closest thing there, bought their last webcam. In the meantime, call up my girlfriend and said, hey, you got a webcam? Can I borrow it? Sure. It's really old. Okay, no problem. Take it home. Let me just say, 7 webcams later. It took 7 webcams, people, to finally get to this point, and I'm not even clear this is a good one. But the best story about how I acquired this webcam, I finally got on Let Go just to see who had it. So contacted this guy. He took 24 hours to get back to me, of course, and he says he has it available. I think about it for a minute. So I get back to him. Okay, I'll take it. He doesn't get back to me for the next day again, and 7:30 at night, he says, yeah, I'll sell it to you if you get it right now. 7:30 at night. I'm sorry, I'm a girl. I'm not going into some unknown parts of the city to pick up a webcam in the dark. No, I'll pick it up tomorrow morning. Not available. Fine. When are you available? 6 o'clock tomorrow. Fine. I'll pick it up at 6 o'clock tomorrow. I'm going to take Andy with me. 3 o'clock the next day, the guy contacts me, and literally, this is hilarious. He sends a note that says, hey, bud, I'm home if you want to come pick it up now. I'm like, yeah, wow, that felt sort of funny. And he knows I'm a girl because I have a profile picture up. Anyway, so here we are on our 7th webcam, finally picked it up. 2 more to be delivered in the next day or so. Hopefully today it'll be better than this one, but we're working on it. Okay, so that said, moving on. Here we go. So the tools that you'll need, you're going to need a chasing hammer, a bench block, a soldering setup, of course, some tools. Multi-looping pliers are nice. Round nose pliers are nice. Some chain nose pliers of some sort would be good for this also. Make sure you have a pickle pot, a quench bowl, a torch for your solder setup, some solder, okay, and jump rings. Okay, so let's just jump in. I'm going to move the camera, bear with me, but we're going to do a different position today. Oh yes, if you notice, the addition of the headset, it's very fashionable because we had some complaints yesterday about sound, and I'm hoping that this will fix it. Okay, so we're going to move the camera. Hold on. It's a little peculiar, but I think it will work just fine. Do share your input if you have, if you see something or can't see anything, or need to ask questions, need me to slow down, that is a good thing too. Oh, I forgot, you're also going to need a 5/8 dowel rod. You don't have a dowel rod? Probably not. Look, a marker. So then, and most of these markers are going to be a little bit big. See, here's your 5/8, so you guys can see the difference in size. Okay, it's a little bit big, but it'll work. Okay, so anything like that is going to work. And then you'll need a dowel rod of some sort. It was just mentioned earlier that you could use a knitting needle. I believe a number 3 is a good size, but we'll get to that. Okay, so our project for today, so you can see, pickle can be saved indefinitely. By the way, just to let you know, I can't exactly look at these questions. Andy is reading them to me if you're wondering how I'm getting the questions. So do bear with me, and we're going to try to get to all those questions too. We'll also do a quick Q&A at the end of this, and maybe not so quick, but anyway, you can save your pickle indefinitely if you have not contaminated it or neutralized it. How do you contaminate it? By putting like things like this, ferrous metals, things that don't belong in there. Remember, the only things that go into pickle is silver, copper, brass, gold. No nickel, no aluminum, no steel. Okay? So this is our bracelet, and these are the earrings. Let's see if you guys can see that. Oh, nice. Okay, so yeah, this is an autofocus. Sorry, guys. I think the problem is if I'm moving too fast, it doesn't want to focus. I'm gonna try really hard to slow down. Come again, Andy? Okay. So first thing you're gonna do is gonna take out your 18 gauge wire, and I'm not even gonna measure because I'm cheap, and I'm just gonna do it right off the roll so that I don't have to cut more than I need to. And I'm just simply going to roll it. For the wire, you can use sterling silver. Um, I would not use fine silver for this project because I think it's a little bit soft and the links are a little bit big. Okay, you can use brass, but remember it has to be raw. It can't be plated. And notice I'm just holding it really tight on that dowel rod, and I'm just gonna keep churning this until I have all the coils that I need. And this bracelet, let's measure it real quick. I forgot how long this bracelet is. So this bracelet, oh, it's about 7 inches. Okay, so there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 7 links. The link is just under an inch, just under an inch. So you'll need about 6 to 8, really, depending on how big your wrist is. So you'll need about 6 to 8 coils to make jump rings, okay, or rings. And then you'll take out your, you're going to take out your flush cutters, and we're just going to cut it right down the line. Okay. Just like that. Okay. So once you've done that, if you have any burrs on the ends, make sure you file that. Where's my file? Here we go. You know, it's amazing in a small space how I lose everything. Okay, so I'm just filing it so that the ends are flush, and I'm treating it like a jump ring, and I'm not worried about shape right now. I don't need to keep it round, but you see how nice and smooth that is? Okay, so make a good connection. We're going to go ahead and do it for all these to give you guys, if you're following along, let me give you guys a minute to do that with me. Okay, at least get one of these done with me. There you go. And this one. So it would seem that my twin sister is watching also. Sort of funny that she's not here taking pictures. By the way, all the pictures that are the in the book were taken by my twin sister. So it was definitely a family affair. And she did the first book too. So anyway, credits in the front of the book. So you can see I have nice tight joints on all of my rings. I'm not so worried about shape as you can see on this one, that it doesn't matter. If you're working in silver, we're going to go with hard solder paste. But here I'm just going to use a little bit of copper. Okay, let's put some glasses on. Hold on. Okay. So just right on the joint, a little dab. Like so. And yes, we're on a different soldering board today, if you were watching yesterday, because we're finding that it needs a little contrast for you guys to be able to see it. Okay. But notice how, even though I have like a ton of solder there, I'm not going to take all of it. I'm just going to do just a teeny weeny bit. See that? Okay. Itty bitty bit. Okay, this one needs a little bit of adjustment. The wire should be soft enough that you should move it with your hands. Now, if you're working with 16 gauge wire because you want a nice heavier link, like the earring, actually, see, put it next to each other. You guys can see the difference in weight. You see that? Okay. Then you're gonna want to anneal it. Okay. So here we are, and then we're gonna take out the torch. I'm using a pistol torch today, and it has the, here, let's see, it has a can already attached to it. Okay. All right. Okay. Asking to show the torch, so there it is. So you can see. All right, we're going to go back down here. Ask it to focus again. Sorry, it's this camera doesn't want to focus until it wants to focus. Hello, camera, focus. Okay, let me try this again. Sorry, it doesn't want to focus. I'm making it focus. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, so turn on the torch. Remember, when you're working, you want to work in the blue flame. Here, okay? And we're just going to go heat the whole thing, heat the joint, especially if you're doing silver, heat the joint. If you're doing silver, heat the entire thing, then the joint, and here, just right over that joint until the solder flows and looks like liquid metal. I went back for another tip here. Okay. So what's sort of funny here that you guys can't see is right here is a plastic bin in which my camera is sitting on. And yeah, it didn't like that torch because I don't know, 6 inches from that. So I'm going to have to take a quick break in a second here. I'm quenching all of my pieces to put up something before I melt something else. So you can see they're all done. Make sure that you check it, that all your joints are good, because we're going to stretch this baby, and if you're not well soldered, it's going to break. Okay, so I'm going to take this, put it into my pickle that's off to the side here. That's going to take 1 second, and let me figure out how to get this while it's pickling, how to get this camera away from the bin before I melt something else. Okay, hopefully that gives it a little extra room. All right. My pickle is hot. I like to use hot pickle instead of cold pickle because it works faster. I don't like sitting around waiting for things to happen. And there we are. Okay. Yes, that's me throwing the lid of the pickle on the floor. Okay. So make sure that's all nice and dry. Yes, you can just go ahead and reapply some solder if the solder has disappeared on you. and resolder the joint if it has come apart. Okay, so now here's where the 1/8 inch dowel rods are, or a little smaller is going to work too. So this is my dowel rod. See how, actually it's a skewer, it's really long. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut it in half because it's so long. Oh. Okay, so the trick with this project is about consistency. You need to make sure that everything you do is consistent movement, okay? So I'm just going to put this into the ring and I'm going to stretch it out a little bit. And notice I have my joint in the middle, okay? Because hopefully it'll be where the wires cross, and then it will sort of make it, disguise it. Okay, so notice I'm going to turn one side, this is my right side, and I'm going to turn it forward evenly. Now I'm holding tension out this way, okay? And then, so see, it's twisting, and then we're going to do it again. So 2 turns to make that full twist, you see? So I have a nice figure 8. It really does matter. You don't want to do one forward and one backwards because it will change the figure 8, and that will make sense here in a moment. Okay, so I'm going to do it again. And again, I'm just going to try to be consistent. When we're making links, you always want to work consistently. So I'm going to pull that apart a little bit. Again, my joint's in the middle. Okay. So you guys following so far? Any questions? Again, I'm moving my right hand forward and we're going to go twice. See that? Okay. And this business here is fine. We're going to fix that. Okay. Go for a third one. And as you can see, the demo gods are on my side because so far so good with the joints. And again, I'm going to move this forward. And there we go. See the turns? Okay. So this one, this last one, I'm gonna do it opposite, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay. So pull that out a little bit, and we're gonna go backwards. But it doesn't matter. If any of you guys have taken the double cross bracelet, and I tell you that you have to go right over left or left over right, and how important that is. And I know it seems like it doesn't work, but it's real. And then when we do it, you're like, oh yeah, you weren't kidding. Nope, wasn't kidding. So this is going to be the one that sort of that went the opposite direction. I'm just going to set that aside. Um, so to practice on, it took me probably 3 or 4 to get here, but I know you guys all laugh when I say things like that. I would use copper or brass, something cheap. I wouldn't be doing this on silver if you need to practice. That was a question. I don't know if you guys saw that. Is how many links do you need to practice on to get to a consistency? Okay, so now that we have our links, so there's the 3, and then there's my 1 oddball. So there's my links. I'm going to take out my my leather mallet, and I'm just going to move it down. You can also, this is so soft, you can move it down with your hands. Okay? You see how that's going? Okay. Now speaking of consistency, notice I've got 2 that's pretty much the same and 1 that's not, and I'm going to fix that. Okay, but before I fix that, do you see the difference here between the 2 links? Here's my oddball that I went in the opposite direction. So these 3, remember, I went forward and I twisted it twice. And then this one, I went backwards. And you see where the cross is? This one is crossing from left to right, and this one's crossing from top to bottom, and this one's bottom to top. And even if I flip it over, it's not gonna work. Okay, so it keeps, yeah. Anyway, So you want to make sure that you stay consistent, that they're always the same. Okay? Now to fix this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out, because if you notice it's a little bit longer than the other ones, right? So I'm going to put it into my multi-looping plier, and I'm going to force it out just a little bit. Let's see, find a loop. Okay, and then I'm going to, you see how I'm forcing it out and I'm making it round? Another thing too you can do is I'm going to pull this out here. Actually, you know, I have these wonderful things called a bow opening plier. Oops. It works in the opposite, so when I squeeze it opens it instead of squeezing to close. So I'm going to just, so I'm going to put it in here and I'm going to squeeze to open. And this one too, just to make it a little bit more round than long. Remember, this link was a little bit on the long side. So now it's more consistent. Okay. Next up, we're going to go ahead and hammer the shoulders, I'll call them, and that's where your chasing hammer comes in. You see, so I'm just hammering the ends. Hmm? Yes, that's a bow opening plier that I just used. Okay, so we're going to set those aside. Next up, we're going to make the swirl in the middle. Okay, so those take 2-inch pieces. And we're going to do that again. So we're making, if you're just joining us, we are making the Crescendo Bracelet. If you're looking for written instructions, it is on the Urban Beater website. The link is posted here on this video. Okay. It's a special order only, and I believe they're only $18. So reach out and we can get those to you. Okay, so cutters. So I'm going to measure 2 inches. And what I like to do is I like to measure just one, and then I use that to cut the rest. I know I'm being a little awkward about my cuts, sorry. Okay. And I'm going to snip it to make it even. Alright, so same thing here. Yesterday again I mentioned hammering about an eighth of the end of the wire, because when you go to make that loop here, it's just a really nice finish to have that. So I'm going to do that on both ends. Okay. Another key here is when you're hammering these ends, you want to make sure you're working on the same plane. So see, this is the flat side is facing up. You want to make sure that's face up and not turned in any way. Uh, so if you're looking for the bow opening pliers, we'll post a link after I'm done here. It will be a special order. It's going to take about a week or so before we can get it out to you. Okay, and again with the you know, because we're making links, I like to use things like the uh, multi-looping plier to keep all my loops consistent. Okay, so here I'm going to use the smallest of the heads. I'm just going to turn that. We're just going to make really tight loop on the first bend. And I like to work um, production line style where I do all of them because it sort of helps everything um, be consistent. And notice also when I'm churning, I'm starting with my palms up and I'm churning like this because if you start like this with your knuckles up, you only have a partial churn. You see that? Whereas if you start with your palms up, you have almost a full churn, at least 3/4 of a way. So you're doing a lot less work. Okay. So you see there? Ah, I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking regarding the special order. Um, I I said a week. We're actually sort of unsure because you never know with the virus how if the company is if your tool is open right now or not. So we'll check on that and let you guys know. I'm I would like my loop to be just a little bit tighter. So now that I've made a loop, I'm um, I'm gonna just squeeze that in just a little bit because I just want it just a little bit tighter. And you can do this with your chain nose. And if you have been following my work, you know I like little itty bitty things because they're just so cute. It's like baby animals. They're just cuter. Okay. Or miniature food. Miniature food is just more fun to eat, right? Okay. Okay, so here we're making the loop for the link, not the earring, which is going to be a little bit different, all right? So if you notice, the link for the bracelet has a big loop on the end. The reason for that is because we're going to, that's our point of connection between the links, okay? If you don't, and you make it like this, you see, you're going to need a much bigger jump ring to attach it between links. All right, so now we're going to make a bigger loop. Okay, so we're going to make a bigger loop, approximately 4 millimeters, and we are going in the opposite direction of the first loop. Okay, and I'm using the second size on the multi-looping plier, just like so. See that? And the next one. You know, making loops and swirls are just fun. I can sit here and do this all day long. All right, so I'm bending it so that the end comes all the way to the other side so that we don't have any openings. And then also for soldering, remember one of the rules of soldering is that it's got to be touching. Okay, so now that we have that, we're going to make your swirl. It's just an S is really all it is, and you want to try to match up this line here, right through here. And okay, so I'm just going to hold it in this bottom one, the second to last one, and notice my loop is, let's see, can you guys see that? Okay, yeah. Okay, make it refocus again, sorry. There we go. Okay, the loop is facing the table, and I'm going to bend it like so. Okay, oops, and see? And then I'm actually just going to take out my chain nose, and I'm going to bend back the other one just a little bit, and just bend it, just like that. Okay. Probably a little bit too much of a bend here, so no big deal. I'm going to pull it back out. And there it is. You know what? And there's another mistake. I think I've decided this is too big. So I'll make the correction on the instruction sheets. Not 2 inches. Actually, I'm going to start over. Let's do 1.5 inches. Sorry. What was I thinking? Let's see. We'll do 1.5 inches. So try it again. Apologize. You know, it's sort of interesting how sometimes these things grow. Okay, do that. And then we're going to go with the second largest one going in the opposite direction. Do it again. And if you don't have the multi-looping plier, of course you can just bend it. Just like so. Can you see that? Ah, better. 1.5 inches it is. So I'm going to do a couple more times here just to repeat it. So 1.5 inches, not 2 inches. My bad. Do it 2 more times so you guys can follow along. Oops, hammer the ends. Again, just about 1/8 of an inch off the end, okay? Always working in the same plane. Okay, starting with the small part of the loop. And then on the back one, we're going to make the bigger loop, like so. Repeat. Keep repeating this way. You want to make that churn all the way so that it's touching the wire. Working in opposite direction again. Why are we not focusing? This camera is killing me. Did you guys see that? No. Okay. Okay. So again, make an S. Just a bend like that. See if it matches up. Yay! So you're bending the loop forward. You can see. Alright, so here. So what I like to do is I like to put out all of my pieces and match them up and see which one matches the best. So I think these are working pretty well. Because, you know, sometimes I'm just not that consistent, and that's okay. So what you want here is you want to make sure that your loops are below that figure 8, okay, but touching. And I'm going to work it with my hands, and I'm going to push it down just like this, because we're going to solder. Here, let's see if I think I'm going to move this up for you guys. See if it focuses. There we go. See if we're going to solder here, and we're going to solder here, okay? Would be nice if you got it soldered between these two pieces, okay, so that it's a closed loop, because we're going to connect these between here and here. We're going to jump it from here to here, and then so forth, all right? So that way, all all these pieces are nice and tight and closed. And again, I used my hands and I pushed them down because these should be pretty soft, especially if you're working in copper. If you're working in silver, you should be using dead soft, but if you have half hard, go ahead and anneal it. Okay. Remember, annealing is a process of just heating the metal so that it opens up those molecules and makes it more malleable. All right. Again, if you're looking for instructions, the written instructions are available at the Urban Beater. The link is on this video. Okay, so I'm going to lay this out again, and we're taking a little bit of solder, just a tiny little bit. Okay, and I'm just going to put a little bit on the end here, and I'm eyeballing where it goes up here. If you want to get very anal retentive about it, lay it out, take out your Sharpie, and mark it. So if you're worried about the copper not being hard enough for, I'm grabbing some tweezers by the way, so hold on. If you're worried that the copper is not hard enough because we've been torching it, you can harden it by putting it into a tumbler at the end. And you might want to do that anyway. We'll talk about that at the end here, a little bit of finishing. All right. So tweezers are your friend here. And again, I'm going to production line this, okay? So I'll just set up all three, and also in fear of melting my box that's in front of me. Oh. Okay, so the question is, how are the instructions being presented? It is a PDF download, okay? And once purchased, and you can download it a couple of times. Okay, so here, there we go. And this one I did not press down, so I'm going to press down now. Okay, last one. So the question again is if this is in the book. No, none of these projects are in the book. This is, I guess you could say it's supplementary to the book, but I like to use the word complementary to the book. It uses this, it's basically the same format in that we're using the same materials and the same process, but all the projects we're doing this week is not in the book. Okay, so So what I'm doing is I'm just adjusting some of these wires so that they all look the same. Yes, I'm a little anal retentive. No, you don't have to do it this way. You can make it eclectic and make it your your own. Okay. Some people like it to be a little different. All right. So again, solder underneath here and here. This is where the connections are. All right. And I'm not even going to worry about soldering the middle of the figure eight. It'll be fine. It should not come apart. Okay. So another question came up is, have I tried hammering the links to harden them a little? The links, the figure eight was hammered, so it has hardened a little bit. I'm not hammering the swirl on top. No, I haven't tried hammering because it's a different look altogether. And it is 18 gauge, so it should be fine. Again, you want to heat, if this is silver, you want to heat the entire thing. And once it gets hot, heat right over the joint and watch for the solder to flow. Once it flows, go to the next one. Okay, and watching it flow. I know you guys probably can't see it. I hope I don't melt this camera. It's only about 6 inches away. Okay, there it is. I think you guys probably might have seen that one flow. Okay, quench, so you can see there, and then we're going to pickle. Okay. The earrings are going to be the same process. Actually, I'm going to make one earring for you guys because it is slightly different, the earring. Okay, so if you're making the earrings, where's my link? If you're making the earrings, you're going to need a little bit of fine silver wire to make the ball. Someone just asked what happens if you hold it too long. I need a little more explanation on that, please. Hold what too long? Okay, I'm gonna make another loop because apparently I've lost one along the way, even though I haven't moved. Do you guys see it? Okay, so I'm gonna put that there. Heat it. Watch for the solder to flow. Don't know why it's taking its dear sweet time right now, but there it is. Quench. And again, back into the dowel rods. I'm just using 18 gauge right now for my sample earring. Ah, back to the question, how do you know if you've held it too long, meaning soldering? Oh, it melted. That's how you know pretty quickly. But usually you know because you don't want this to get too red. Okay, once it gets red, you're at the point of almost melting. So I'm making another figure eight. I'm gonna throw that in the pickle too. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna grab some silver scrap. If you had downloaded the instructions, um, it said that you needed some fine silver wire. That's what this is for. I'm just going to use a little tiny bit of scrap material and why can't I find any scrap material to make my ball. Okay, so if you want all your balls to be the same, you want to make sure that you cut them the same length. Also, a trick here is if you're using wire to make your balls, you want to go ahead and hammer the wire flat before you make the ball so that they don't roll away from you when you go to torch it. Okay, you know, I have scrap everywhere in the studio except for when I need it. It's sort of crazy. So, unbelievable. Okay, here we go. Scrap. Yoicks. All right, so back to the bench block. Here's some scrap. I'm going to hammer that. And I'm just going to take a little piece of it, okay? And we're going to make that into a ball. And before I put away my bench block, I'm going to grab that ring, that figure eight I just made back out of the pickle. I'm going to flatten that a little bit and do the same thing as I did earlier. Okay, so flattening the two ends, okay? Then back to the S. S, the swirl on top, the S swirl on top, and making a tiny little ball. Okay, there we go. That should work. Let's see. Ooh, he's long. You know what? Why don't we have some fun with this? We're going to make it into a swirl swirl. Or even more of a design. Look at that. So it was a little long, so I decided I was going to make an additional swirl on it just to utilize it, because why not? They're just, different ways of approaching this, and that's what's sort of fun for me about this book, was that there were so many different things you can do with so little. Okay, press it down on there. Okay, so to make the granule, we're going to do it here. This is your silver that we have. Okay, it's just a little piece of fine silver wire. All you have to do is heat it. Blue tip of the flame right on there until it balls up. Okay, and pick that up, but not too soon, because if it's still soft, you're going to mush it. So you can see, I don't know, maybe you can't see that, but let's see. You see that? So I have a tiny little ball, and we're going to flatten the ball. Okay. And yes, you want to do that on a bench block, okay? None of this doing it on the ceramic tile or on, I get a lot of students who try to hammer on my soldering board. Big no-no. Okay, so now we're going to solder the swirl on to the figure 8. A little bit there. And a little bit there on the side. This is where tweezers come in handy. Okay, and if you want to, you can go ahead and solder the ball right at the same time. I know a lot of you guys complain when I do that because it's not so easy, but it does make quick work of things. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and solder that without the ball. So Stephanie has a tip for everyone. If you want to make the consistent size granules, then you can make you can make jump rings. If you make all the jump rings in the same size, then you'll get consistent sized balls. And that is correct. Oh, sorry. Shar said that. If you, in the book, I actually provided a little chart as to how many inches it takes to make what size ball. Okay. So pieces went into the pickle. We're pickling right now, and they're going to come out here. Rinse it. Make sure anything that goes in the pickle gets rinsed with water, because that is acid, and you want to make sure that you wash that off. Okay. Dope. Okay. So these are my links. And then let me go grab the earring link and you can see the difference. Oh, earring's done. There's the earring. Okay. I haven't done the ball yet, but I want you to see the difference. Okay. So you can see the difference here between the two links. The one for the bracelet has the loop hanging on the bottom so that you can daisy chain it, and the earring does not. Now, can you make the earring with the loop? Of course. And you know what else you can do is you can even hang a little doohickey, like a bead, under it for a little bit more pizzazz. Okay. So now I'm going to solder the ball into the middle of that. Of course, if you wanted to, for the bracelet, you can solder little silver balls on all of it too, of course. That would make it a lot of fun. Alright, so take this, just a little bit of solder again, right where I'm going to solder my ball. So, does it matter where you solder your ball? No, this is sort of up to you too. So is it on that middle one, or is it sitting on top of the two crossovers of the links? I don't know if you could see that. I'm going to try that again. See if maybe you can see that up here. So you can solder it on the bottom one here or on top. Depending how big your ball is, it may not sit across these two. Okay? So mine's going to sit down below. Just like that. Solder is underneath. You know, when you're soldering something underneath, it's really hard to tell whether or not, or to see the flow and tell whether or not it has actually happened. And unfortunately, the only thing that I can really suggest here, this comes with time as you work. You'll start to understand flow and how much heat it takes, and seeing when it's too hot that you know it had to have flowed. And if it hasn't flowed and it's practically melting, something else is wrong. It could be dirty, or maybe the solder has just gone somewhere else, or that there was no connection. Because remember, one of the rules of soldering is that your pieces must be touching. Because when two pieces aren't touching, it's sort of like building a bridge. How's it going to find each other, right? So your pieces have to be touching to solder. Okay, so we're going to do this. Again, I'm going to heat the whole thing, and then I'm going to focus right over where I want it to be. And I saw it sort of sink down. That's how I knew that it had soldered, or that the solder had flowed. Okay. Quench. Dry. See? There it is. And I'm going to throw it in the pickle. For the clasp is very easy. Also, it's just an S. I'm going to take a piece of 16 gauge wire, and we're just going to cut about 1.75 to 2 inches, sort of up to you. Okay. You can make a ball on each end if you want to. For this one, we're just going to make swirls on the end. It continues the theme. And I'm going to hammer the end again. Pretty flat. If you have sharp edges and want to take that off, remember, we're going to file it. Just remove some burrs. You can feel it with your hands. Okay. And this time I'm going to use my tiny little Lindstrom round nose, because I want the smallest little swirl on there. That's just me. But you can do whatever you want. So just going to bend it. Teeny weeny. So if you're just joining us for the first day, today's day 2. I'm going to be doing this every day this week. Some projects are more complex than others. Tomorrow's project is going to be an earring. It's going to be pretty straightforward and really easy. If you want to tune in, I'd love to do a question and answer session tomorrow. So if you have questions, this is a good time to hit me up for it. So you can see 2 loops opposite directions, and then back to the multi-looping plier, and then what are fun about these is you can just move it. Actually, I'm going to go to the bigger one. And you just bend this back the other way. And it makes an S for you. Not so pretty, but I'm going to pretty it up with some chain nose. So I'm just going to bend, 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 bend. You want it to come all the way around, like so. Okay. And so I'm going to hammer just the shoulder here, because S hooks are tension set, so you want to harden that metal. You see that? Okay. And I'm not going to do anything on this side. I'm just going to leave it. Okay. So now you have your all your links. We're going to attach them. 2 pairs of pliers, 2 pairs of chain nose is nice. A chain nose and a flat nose combo works well too. Here I have a chain nose, and actually I have a long needle nose and a bent nose, because that's the closest thing to me, and I'm just going to daisy chain them. To open up jump rings, you're just going to twist them back and forth. You never want to pry them apart. So open and close, and there. Depending on whether or not you need length, you can attach the S hook directly onto the link, or do it with a jump ring. That's up to you. If you don't need the length, then don't do it with the jump ring. If you need extra length, you can add extra jump rings. Okay. Oh, that went in my lap. Okay. And close this last one. You'll want to solder these jump rings together, and I'm going to solder one in just a minute. But you can see. For the other side, you want to add an 8mm jump ring. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and add that one here, and I'm going to solder this one for you. Add it on. Okay. Okay. So you'll have, okay, I don't know why this is not focusing, so hold on. See if I can get it to focus. Whoa. I have the opening at 12 o'clock at the very top. Oops. Let's see. Still not wanting to focus here. Sorry guys. Put a little bit of solder right on top. Okay, so maybe if I do this, can you guys see that? Not wanting to focus. Oh, there it is. It's finally focused. Jeez. Okay. So can you guys see that? Oops. There. You see a tiny little bit of solder on there. Okay. Hopefully the new camera arrives today and that it works better than this one. Okay. So I'm holding it in my cross-locking, and I'm just going to put the opening right at the very top there, and I'm heating it just like so. I'm not waving it around. I'm heating it at the opening where the solder was until the solder flows. And that's it. And there's my closed joint. I'm going to throw that in the pickle. Pull out the earrings so you guys can see that. There it is. So there's my earring part. Okay. So once you've pickled everything, you can patina this. So for me, because this is copper, I'm using liver sulfur because I think it works better on copper is why I like to use liver sulfur. But if you're doing silver, you might want to use black max. That's my preference because the color is a bit more intense. And so, all right, so I made this liver sulfur up just a couple days ago. I'm using pellets because it lasts for a few days. And this is just a piece of scrap wire. Okay, and let's see. There we go. Stinky, stinky. Put this in, and magic happens. And you can pull it out whenever you're happy with the color. Okay. There, it's starting to churn. I'm going to go a little bit more. And don't forget to rinse this. You really do want to rinse this. You can see the color has really changed there. I'm going to rinse it in a bowl of water off to the side here. If you use warm liver sulfur, it'll happen even faster and the color is going to be a lot more intense. And here we are. Dry that off really well. Of course, you can leave it like this. At this point, you can throw it in the tumbler if you want with some steel shot, some Dawn liquid soap, and let it go. You can clean it up a little bit with steel wool, and you'll see here. Just a second. I know a lot of people don't like steel wool. It gets everywhere. So usually when I use steel wool, I try to do it in a pan just to contain the mess. But that's so you guys following along? Is this making sense? 18 gauge wire or 16 gauge wire works. Remember that. Whatever. Oops. But I would not go any thinner than 18 gauge. If you really want to go thinner, I would probably make the links about half the size because it's going to be a little too soft and it's going to bend on you. The links are just about an inch long. Each one of these links are just about an inch long. I would definitely not add a add any more length to this because your wrist is not that big, and the bigger the link, it won't sit right. And if you do really want to go bigger, then what I would do is I would actually take these links and I'd give it a little bend so that it conforms around your wrist a little bit better. Okay, if you want to go more big and more bold, definitely go to that 16 gauge. Now, I'm not going to promise that it's easy with a 16 gauge. It's a little bit challenging, but it works, and I think it's really pretty. You can see the difference here between the earring and the earring that I made that's in the picture and the one that I just made here. Okay, so you see the difference there um, with the two the two weights between the 18 gauge and the 16 gauge. Another real quick note is if you still wool anything, okay, do not put it back in pickle because steel wool, if there's any fibers that go into the pickle, yeah, you're gonna do a little bit of copper electroplating, and your copper is going to leach onto your other metal. So you want to make sure if you want to put this back into the pickle for whatever reason, or you just discovered that one of your joints has come open and you need to resolder it, put it into, or rinse it really well in some water before you put it back in the pickle. Okay, just do yourself that favor. Once you've once you've contaminated the pickle, yeah, you're pretty much done. You're going to need fresh pickle, and I think that goes back to the question that Andrea was asking earlier: is how long can you keep pickle? Well, for me, I keep it for a pretty long time until I spill it on the floor. Then there's no recovering that, and but pretty much indefinitely. I do know a commercial user who had the same pot of pickle going for over 8 years. Anyway, okay, the project's done. There you are. This is the Crescendo bracelet, and the written instructions are on our website. The link is provided here on this page, and so any I can answer. How does a copper brush compare to steel wool for cleaning? You know what? You can use it. I like it. I think it's just a personal preference. The brass brush is a little bit more aggressive, but it also depends on the brass brush that you are using. Some are more stiff than others. So like here, let's talk about that for half a second. So this one came from the hardware store. I think I picked it up like three of them for $1 or two. And let me just say, talk about scratch marks. These will leave all kinds of scratch marks, but it's a look, it's a texture that you can use on your sheet metal and whatnot. So this one is a bit softer, quite a bit softer, and and but it's still, I think, a lot more aggressive than your steel wool. Okay, and what size, or I'm sorry, what steel wool am I using? It is quadruple zero is my preference, and so you can also use a Brillo pad. You can definitely use a copper brush. Sally just asked that question. You can definitely use a copper brush to do your work. I don't actually know where you can get one. So, hey, Sally, do me a favor, send me a link. But yes, you can definitely use a copper brush. There's no reason why you shouldn't. And actually, a lot of times people don't like to use steel wool. They prefer the brushes so that they don't worry about contaminating their pickle. Another thing, believe it or not, there is such thing as brass wool. It's expensive, but it is out there. You can, or I saw it on Amazon at one point, and you can use brass wool instead of steel wool if you're worried about contaminating your pickle. But just as a quick reminder, All of these things are available on the urbanbeater.com. So if you are looking for product, we are still here, and we are, because hey, where else are we going? The bow opening pliers, again, are a special order, and there we are a special order, and will be, we're going to put up a link here shortly if you want to order the bow opening pliers, and but we don't know right now when they will be available. We assume they're still shipping, but I don't know. Things are changing by the day, and by the hour. So hang in there. Thanks for your patience. Anybody else have questions? So tomorrow, again, we're going to do the earrings, and here, I'll show you one more quickie here. So we're going to do the circular earrings, and it's going to be an easy project. You're going to need 16 gauge wire and some beads, okay, and maybe some earring wires. Let's see. There we are. Okay, so those are the earrings for tomorrow, and because it's going to be a quick project, I'm going to do a answer, or I'm sorry, a question and answer session for you guys, and maybe we'll do a tour of the studio. We'll see. And anyway, thanks for tuning in. Check out the websites. All the links are going to be posted. Send me questions if you have them, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Happy Tuesday. Now I figure out how to turn this off. Bye.